Hey YouTube, it's Nick. I know I'm back after my deck profile. If you saw it, great. If you didn't, whatever. Um, I guess I want to just do a follow-up video on the format and what I think of it. It seems like to me that Konami really isn't doing anything to make the game more competitive, player friendly. I mean, it just seems like they're. I mean, obviously they're in it to make a dime. I mean, I get it. I mean, maybe competitive players need to buy more packs or whatever, but I mean, it just seemed like when Upper Deck had it, it was a lot more competitive. Decks weren't as sacky. Formats were a lot better. Yes, I know Teledad was awful. People hated it. I mean, I for one loved the Teledad format because I mean I could sit down at a table and knew 90% of the time I was either playing A mirror match, B Lightsworn, or C some scrub that didn't know what the hell they were doing. So, I mean, that's why I like Teledad. I mean, if you didn't, it's because you didn't have the cards for it, or because I don't know. I don't really like this format, so I mean, I understand where you're coming from if you didn't like Teledad. But this format is just like it seems like. I mean, fish are really good. I mean, OTKs are good in general. I mean, Dragoonities were really hyped, and then they came out, and people were like, "Oh, they're really good." And sorry about the bouncy camera. I keep playing with my tripod. And people were just like, "Oh, hey, yeah, they're gonna be really good." Blah blah blah. Whatever. And then it was just like, you get into it a little bit, and you start playing them, and you're like Bottomless Trap Hole, and you realize Solemn Warning, Solemn Judgment, Mirror Force. Unless you can go turn one, like starting off level 8, like Stardust Dragon, you're basically, I mean, you have a really good chance of losing that duel. I mean, people don't play Bottomless right now, but a lot of people cite it. I mean, a lot of people just, I don't know. It frustrates me what Konami has done to the game. It's like at least when UDE had it, at least competitive players were on the forefront. I don't mean anything bad by this, but like at least when sorry UDE, I keep getting too confused. Had the game. At least they made it competitive player friendly. I mean, you had metagame that was just full of competitive articles and a few like getting started things for people that just wanted to get into it. And then the coverage of events were a lot better. And I mean, I love the blog style coverage that Konami has introduced. That's great. The only thing that I don't like about it is that they don't update you each round with pairings, and they really don't do that great of a job of showing you like the top 20 tables even. I mean, how difficult is it? It's like copy paste. It's like copy from your little system, and if it's not copy paste friendly, maybe you should look into making it a little copy paste friendly. It's just copy paste on a notebook file, paste it back onto your stupid thing, and press, publish. I mean, it's a blog for God's sakes. It's not that difficult. Um, it seems like OTKs are running rampant. I didn't mind last format with plants. I mean, at least plants took a decent amount of skill to play, and like you thought about plays, and you really had to think about plays before you made them. But this format is just like, I mean, I find myself thinking about plays, but you have fish running around that are just like, oh well, hell here, just whatever, like first turn OTK, like, are you serious? Like, I mean, granted, I know it's inconsistent, but I mean, in my testing, and I mean, I tested with upstarts and not with um, dualities because I didn't have them at the time and still don't. Really don't have any interest in getting them at all. It seemed like turn one was like, oh, big fish guy, just flood the field, blah blah blah. It's just like, where is the skill in a game that a player can win in a turn? I mean, granted, I know Frog FTK was out last Nats. I played against the first round, but I mean, I don't know. The format has just been a real disappointment to me. It's like trying to find a consistent deck that consistently wins and draws relatively the same, like every game is fairly difficult. It's just like I mean, like I said, I tested Dragoonides. So far, the most consistent deck, which I thought was weird, that I've tested, has been Froggy Monarchs, or Formula Monarchs, as it become known now. I mean, with Birdman, I think it just breaks the deck. I mean, you can go bring back Treeborn, enemy control your card, bring back Treeborn again, remove one for Rolling Totem, double tribute for Lad, whatever, tribute your monster for a Monarch, spin your back row back to the top of your deck. You can go uh, Treeborn Frog. I don't know why I had such a hard time coming up with that name. Treeborn Frog, pitch one to bring out Fishboard Blaster, synchro up to level 2, draw a card, tribute that formula for a Monarch, bounce or remove, or maybe it's Dark Dust Spirit, or maybe it's Vanity's Fiend. Surprisingly, that's been the most consistent deck I've tested this format. I mean, Dragoonides by all means are the most consistent deck, and I mean, if I felt that they had a good chance at winning any major event, or if I felt that, people citing pulling the rug, people citing bottomless trap hole, people citing this, people citing that. If I felt that they weren't as easy to stop as what they are, I mean, I'd probably play those. But I mean, the whole deck revolves around a field card, which, I mean, you can go, oh, hey, I'll activate Dragon's Ravine. They're like, okay, oh, I'll pitch with its effect. They're like Misty, and it just fizzles, and you're like, great, so I'm -1, plus maybe I used a terraforming to get that, so now it's just like, well, that was a 1-for-1, but, I mean, you're down you're down 2 cards, because you're down the Ravine, and you're down the card you pitched. I mean, granted, you should be pitching cards that you gain advantage off of, but I mean, anyone who's played the deck can tell you that sometimes you have to pitch stuff that you don't want to get the combo going. And then if they have Misty or Dust or anything else, it's just like, oh, hey, we're just going to go ahead and just own you. Chaos Plants, I mean, it's a great deck. I tested it a little bit. I mean, the only problem I have with plant decks in general, and this even goes for the junk decks that everyone's hyping, that I personally don't feel are going to be very good. I mean, the only problem I have with them is that Dandelion's at 1, and you don't have access to the level 1 tokens that you need. And it just seems like the more access to the level 1 tokens that you have, the better off you are to winning. And I mean, Doppel Warrior fills the gap a little bit, but I mean, they're 400 attack level 1 tokens that come out in attack position, for God's sakes. I mean, the second one misses its timing if you use 2. And I mean, granted, it should miss its timing. I don't want people like just dropping, like all sorts of crazy stuff on me in one turn. But at the same time, I mean, my all-time favorite format, and I mean, it wasn't even Teledad, it was Synchrocat. I mean, for God's sakes, it was Synchrocat. I mean, granted, the OTK was prevalent, but that deck, Synchrocat in general, if you didn't hit the OTK combo right away, I mean, you really had to play. You had to pay attention to what you did. You had to watch every move you made. I mean, there wasn't any of this, oh, well, I'm just going to summon a big fish guy and discard a card from my hand and flood the field and then just, attack a bunch of times. And get game. No, it was like, oh, okay, so I have to go, well, I mean, let's all face it, the combo for Cat wasn't that difficult if you hit it. I mean, it was Summoner Monk, pitch a spell or Cold Wave, Summoner Monk, pitch a spell, Summoner Monk, pitch a spell, Rescue Cat, pitch Rescue Cat, 2 Airbellums, attack them for or depending on field and everything else, and hand control and what was going on in the game. I mean, attack them for 32, take 2 cards from their hand, or it would just flat out synchro up to 2 Dark Strike Fighters, attack them for 27 apiece, and then blast both of them off for 14 for 28 for game. I mean, as much as people hate that format, I know people hated that format. At least it took skill, and at least if you didn't hit that combo, you had to play yourself out of holes. Like, it's like I tell everyone, it's just like every deck had those backup plans, or every deck should. I mean, Fish OTK sure as hell doesn't have a backup plan. It's just like, oh, hey, I'm just gonna push for it and hopefully I'll get it. I don't know. It's frustrating to me that Konami just comes in and I thought that, oh great, Konami's taking over, cash prizes, all this good stuff's gonna start happening, tournaments are gonna get bigger, it's gonna get more competitive, yada yada yada, and then it's just like they came through and they got rid of Shonen Jumps, they took the prize support down a lot, and now it's like you go to regionals and you enter, and I'm all for the new invite system. Don't get me wrong. I honestly feel more invites need to be handed out all the time, but at least before, in order to get a prize, you had to place in the top, 40%. You got a pack or whatever. Maybe getting an invite. But now it's just like you go to regionals and you enter and you get your 5 packs, and it's just like you go and you play. The players are less competitive and everyone's less competitive. Unless you were pretty high into the game when Konami took over. I just prefer seeing top 8 at a Shonen Jump or a YCS, I guess, is their little equivalent to it, which isn't even an equivalent because the prizes aren't the same, whatever. Prizes aren't the same, structure isn't the same, leadership is the same, but that's only because those people knew how to run it. I'm not dissing anyone from Konami. All I'm saying is that maybe you should probably start a pro circuit because a lot of competitive players are getting really upset here. I just like a top 8 at a YCS to be, or a top 32, to be maybe, made up of 20% of names that I recognize, yeah, you see the Billy Blakes, you see the occasional, Cesar Gonzalez, but you don't see, you don't see like you used to. You don't see Adam Korn and everyone else. There used to be in top 32 or top 16. I forget what they used to do for Shonen Jump. You used to see I don't know, out of the top 16, 8 players were probably pro names that you recognize, and now it's just like you go and you click on their little blog and you look at the top 8 and you look at the top deck list, and you recognize the name. If it's a guy and if there's a guy in there, you recognize 2 names. But I feel that the game needs to get more competitive. Basically, is how I feel. And formats need to start getting better. Everyone complained about plants, but at least with plants, it took you thought and it took you time to evaluate moves. Now with all this new crap that's going on, it's just like people just don't care. It's just like, oh hey, I'm just gonna. There's no consequence to not knowing how to play the game. It's just frustrating. And I'm sure that a lot of you watching this video right now probably agree with me, and probably quite a few of you disagree with me, which is fine by me. Go on, make your own video, criticize me all you want. All I'm saying is that we need more competitive game. We need a more competitive game. We need better prize support. I'm not familiar with the prize support. I've never been to a YCS or a Shonen Jump. Not for lack of trying. It just seems like every time that one comes up, I have something else going on and I can't make it. Or it seems like I don't have the money at the time or whatever. But it's frustrating. It's just like, I guess that's what this video is. It's just me ranting about how bad the format is. But it's just like, it's like if the NFL all of a sudden came through and said, okay, fine, there is no more free agent. Well, there's free agency, but everyone's a free agent at the beginning of every season, and they took away salary caps. Is essentially what this game has become. And it's at least before it was the players who could get the best decks and who could top and who could play and who could think out plays that were winning events. And now it's just like players that happen to get lucky and go. What I think I saw an X3 get in the top of a Shonen Jump. It's just like, or a YCS, whatever Konami little POS excuse for a Shonen Jump is, for a major tournament is, because they haven't made competitive players rent enough at the thought of regionals not even being competitive. Well, I mean, there's a lot of other good decks. I mean, this format. I haven't tested. I mean, I tested Gladiator a little bit. I mean, they're okay. The fact is, it still takes three parts, and I mean, it still takes the monster, something to protect the monster, and then something to get rid of your opponent's back rows. And it's just like, if you don't start out with with at least two of those three pieces, you're just working from behind the rest of the game, and it's just like, I mean, after a while, you're going to lose that game because you just don't care anymore, or you just lose control. And I mean, I don't think the new Gladiator Beast card is going to help. I mean, maybe the new Fusion. I mean, I forget his name. It's E something. I don't know. I need to pick a few of those up. I need to pick a few of those up. Oh, that brings me to my next point. If you happen to have a buy list and you're looking for some more people to sell to you, for sure, hit me up. I'm always looking to make some money on the side, especially now that this whole job thing isn't kicking in until June. So, yeah, hit me up if you have a buy list. That's my opinion of the format. Feel free to criticize or reply, agree with me, whatever. Thanks, YouTube, and have a great day.